For decades, we've all seen artificial intelligence in science fiction, right? Robots and computers battling for the future of humanity. Well, that future isn't fiction anymore. AI is here, it's on the battlefields of today, and it is completely rewriting the rules of modern war.
Okay, so let's get into it. Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the promise of this new technology. Then, we'll compare two very different national strategies. After that, we'll do a deep dive into a specific and very controversial AI system. And finally, we'll grapple with the massive legal and ethical questions this all raises for the future of warfare.
So, first up, why is everybody racing to do this? Why are militaries all over the world pouring resources into this tech? What exactly is the promise of algorithmic warfare? Well, as the source research makes crystal clear, integrating AI is one of the biggest technological shifts we've seen in modern conflict. The whole idea is to process just unbelievable amounts of data to make military decisions faster, way more precise, and at a scale that was just impossible for human analysts to handle on their own. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. We're going to do that by looking at two very different approaches to military AI, specifically through the lens of the Iranian-Israeli conflict. Now, what's so fascinating here is the stark contrast. It's like looking at two totally different playbooks. Israel's strategy is all about these high-cost, super high-precision systems that pull together massive amounts of data. Iran, on the other hand, is playing a different game, an asymmetric one, focusing on lower cost but still really effective tools like drone swarms and cyber warfare. So, for example, take a look at this chart. It shows just how deeply Iran has woven AI into its cyber and info ops. Here, AI acts as what's called a force multiplier. It lets them do things like really sophisticated phishing campaigns or even create deepfakes, allowing them to project influence way beyond their conventional military might. And this really illustrates their whole philosophy. This assessment of their AI drone systems gives them high marks for cost effectiveness and for swarm coordination. See, they aren't necessarily trying to build the most advanced AI on the planet. They're building one that's cheap, ready to go, and can overwhelm defenses with just pure numbers. So here's the crucial point. When you actually put them side by side, the data shows this pretty substantial technology gap. Israeli systems, which draw on these huge surveillance networks and a ton of technical support, are just way ahead in operational accuracy, data integration, and how sophisticated their algorithms are. And that technology gap brings us to a very specific, and I have to say, highly controversial Israeli system. It's been the subject of some intense media scrutiny, and it's a tool known as Lavender. So what is Lavender? Well, according to investigative reports, it's an AI system that just churns through mass surveillance data. We're talking communication patterns, social media, movements, all of it, to find individuals who fit the profile of a militant. It basically spits out a list of potential human targets. And the scale here, it is just staggering. In the first few weeks of the war in Gaza, sources cited in these reports claim the system generated a list of up to 37,000 potential human targets. But the controversy gets even deeper when you look at the human oversight piece. Those same sources allege that human analysts spent, on average, just 20 seconds reviewing each recommendation from the machine before they approved it for a potential strike. 20 seconds. This has led to some absolutely explosive allegations. Citing anonymous Israeli intelligence sources, publications like Plus 972 magazine and The Guardian have called the process a mass assassination factory, arguing that the technology just enabled an unbelievable rate of killing. Now, the IDF, for its part, completely rejects this. In their official response, they say that Lavender isn't a system that confirms targets at all. They say it's simply a database used to cross-reference different intelligence sources. So how in the world do you reconcile these two completely different stories? Well, a plausible hypothesis that comes out of the source analysis is this. Lavender was probably designed as a tool to help human intelligence work, kind of like a super specialized search engine. But in the incredibly intense, high-speed environment after October 7th, it ended up being used as a rapid validation tool, blurring that critical line between a recommendation and a green light. This whole situation just forces us to confront the single biggest question at the heart of algorithmic warfare. When the machine is moving this fast, what does meaningful human control actually look like? What does it even mean? You see, the laws of war, or international humanitarian law, IHL for short, are built on these basic foundational principles. Things like distinction, which means you have to be able to tell fighters from civilians, proportionality, which says civilian harm can't be excessive, and precaution, meaning you have to take all possible steps to avoid hurting non-combatants.
But here's the problem. When the source material actually assesses the current AI systems from both Israel and Iran against these legal standards, the results are, well, they're pretty concerning. As this chart shows, both of them fall into the non-compliant to partial compliance range across all the key principles. That points to a major gap between what the technology can do and what the law requires.
The sheer speed of these operations just throws this challenge into sharp relief. In the first 100 hours of the air campaign in Gaza, the IDF announced it had struck 3,600 targets. That's a rate of 36 targets every single hour. I mean, it raises really serious questions about whether there's any real capacity for diligent, meaningful human review and legal due diligence at that speed. And all of this, it leaves us at a profound crossroads, not just for the Middle East, but for the future of warfare itself. The central tension here is just so clear. On one side, you have the promise of incredible speed and precision, but on the other, you have the danger of what experts call automation bias. That's where we humans just start to blindly trust the machine, and the slow erosion of human oversight. The challenge really isn't about stopping this technology, because that seems pretty much inevitable. It's about figuring out how to govern it. Which brings us to our final lingering question. Is it the programmer who wrote the code, the commander who decided to deploy the system, the analyst who spent 20 seconds on the verification? When a machine makes the choice, who is ultimately responsible? That is the question that all of us are going to have to confront in this new algorithmic age.